Welcome to Caribbean Vanguard. The case of Vybz Cartel at the Privy Council just wrapped up, and it's been very interesting, to say the least. However, we will not hear anything from the Privy Council for possibly the next 3 to 4 months. The lawyer of Vybz Cartel, a public figure, Isat Buchanan, because as you know, Vybz Cartel is one of, if not the most popular current entertainer out of the Caribbean. And so the entire Caribbean and out there in the world have been paying attention to this case. But Isat Buchanan got on social media and he shared some things that I believe is worth listening to. So I'd like you to take a listen to it.
I did my my presentation before the Privy Council, like a distinguished gentleman. You know, I'm a bathe, I'm a brush my teeth and thing like that. And I had the privilege of going before the Apex Court. That's what they call it, the Apex Court. What's the significance of this? I'm so passionate about human rights. I think that when I was in the Jamaican space and you talk about human rights, that's why I tell everybody to go and watch the Bob Marley show, because you see Rasta get a fight from way before me born. My father the first Rasta man, big youth, first Rasta man on stage with dreadlocks. And we live in a society where the court writes judgment and say that people with dreadlocks have lice and ginger. And so the discrimination is real. We can't pretend that it's not there, and they live with it. But I speak about these things as travesty of justice. Anything that makes the least among us feel like they're not a human being is a concern for me. And the Constitution is something I'm passionate about. So I have watched my speech and saw how excited I was to speak about the Constitution, and there was nothing in my way. Anything that would have been a plug and a fetter was actually behind me, but I didn't have to look behind me. So whatever energy it's behind you, you don't have to worry about it, and that's just the reality. It speaks for itself. What I must say though, before I start bigging up everybody, is that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about it, because you see, sometimes we forget that we are so important, that we matter. And I'm talking to my Jamaican people, my Caribbean people, whether you're in the diaspora, there's something about us. It's not just being black, it's also where we are geographically located as original people stolen from our land and our generation. So some of us don't know that we came from the kings and the queens and the chief musicians and the architects of this world. And so it's taken us a lot of time to find our identity. That being said, there's nothing worse than being suppressed by your own. And so there's this book that I am encouraging everybody to read. It's called Animal Farm. TikTok people, I know some of you know it. My people on YouTube, I know the world knows this, Animal Farm. But there's a big thing now in the Jamaican space about independence. There's this big thing about the drive to get to a republic, and the people want to have an understanding of why your masters, because they don't feel like they are your servants, why your masters, why the political elite want to get to a republic. It's a rush to abuse. I'm humbly submitting this. And unless you get mature, the opportunity for mature consideration and proper public education, and I'm talking now to my dunce people. I'm talking to my people who can admit I am an uneducated person when it comes to them law thing and the Constitution thing. You would tell your representative, listen, speak in a language so me can understand. Make me understand what you say. So me no care how you bright and you brilliant. Make me understand, and if me not understand, you can't get my vote for a referendum. But until it is that your rights are enforced the way that it should, your rights are reflected, as our Chief Justice Sykes. Listen, I say this every day, because I am a true fan of Justice Sykes. I'm a true fan because he represents Black identity. When you see your Black brother excelling, it is for the purpose of your kids and the next generation, so you have a markers of where you want to be in your life. This is what is so important about speaking in context matters, because you want to know where the ceilings that you can shatter.
He talked about the persecution of Rastas that has been going on in Jamaica for a long time. So one must ask themselves, who were the ones persecuting the Rastas? Was it the Asians? Was it the Middle Easterners? Was it the Europeans? Or was it the Africans? It was the Africans that was persecuting the Rastas. You see, for generations, many people of African descent always wanted to prove themselves to be more radical and hard on their own people in order to gain some type of acceptance with the elite. And that continued to this day. Another thing, if you ever heard about the Lynch letters, it talked about spreading distrust amongst the people so that the people do not trust each other. However, they gain a lot of trust for their masters, but the masters in return do not trust them. This same ordeal has been played out, or were played out, on public stage, where the Court of Jamaica made itself look pretty bad in the eyes of the world, while the Privy Council made itself to look good, as if it's a court of justice and doing the right thing. So here, what it does again, it caused that same practice to continue, because the people cannot trust their own people, the folks who are supposed to be their own people, and so now they have to look towards the Privy Council. And the message that is sent, because Vybz Kartel have money, and most of the people who have to face the law do not have the type of money to take their case to the Privy Council. So one must ask themselves, how many people are behind bars right now, wrongfully behind bars, because folks in the government had an agenda? I like that Isat Buchanan talk about roots coming from kings and queens, coming from greatness, and the fact that it's a challenge to find our identity, the people's identity. And I must say, there are many reasons for that. Some people don't care about their identity or care about their roots. It doesn't mean you cannot be proud of your nationality. You can be proud of your nationality while maintaining your roots and your identity. There's no this or that. But where there's a conflict, your identity, your roots should be the end all be all. Because when it comes to your nationality, everyone have access to that. And we have to remember that everything was not exposed when we came out of slavery. Everything was not exposed. All the secret conversations in the back room were not exposed. Those who were in charge, the oppressors, they were not subjected to any type of punishment or corrective action. They did not have to give up their secret plots or their conversations. So we don't know how deep this thing really went or how deep it is. We don't know if it still exists to this day. So it is very risky for us to give up on our identity and really focus on trying to create this new identity under the banner of nationality when so much people have access to it. Because remember, those who have money, especially generational money, are going to have the advantage in that nationality concept. So the only real strength the people have, the poor people have, is our roots and our identity. The fact that our ancestors fought for something that no one else should have access to like that, because it is all we have. These people, everyone else, they still have their original home. We don't. You talk about the rush to become a republic so that they can continue to oppress the people and don't have to answer to anyone. Can you imagine what can happen if a people does not have maturity and education? That is why I always say outside of the government, the people should have their own government, their own unity, something that is not hooked to some other organization, because you have to understand and remember that many of your government are in debt, major debt to some other government or some other people, millionaires and stuff like that. So guess who are going to have the most influence over your government? It's not the local people. You don't have an army. You don't have a unity. You have the numbers. If you realize that there's strength in numbers, then maybe something could happen. But the Privy Council is pretty clever, and they can go about this in many ways. They know it's all about the numbers as well. They know it's about the people. So if they can expose the corrupt behavior of the Jamaican government, not the government itself, but the people who are involved with the government, without making Jamaica look bad, but to point fingers at this judge and the jury, then they will win a great victory, because now they win the heart of the people. They expose the corrupt process that took place, while at the same time they don't go after Jamaica or make Jamaica look bad. They basically separate it to say, hey, the Constitution is good, the system is good, it's just these few corrupt people right here. We don't know how deep or how wide this corruption is, but there's a way to do it without the Privy Council putting itself in a sticky situation. So once again, I applaud Isat Buchanan for maintaining his identity. Even though he went out there, become a lawyer, he still maintained his identity. He still have respect for himself, his roots. He talk about being a Jamaican. He talk about being one of the Caribbean, and he talk about being a black person. And there's no shame in none of that. And we should not have any shame in that. And the people who really care, the good people who say they care, be it Europeans, Asians, and so forth, they should understand, and they should want us to regain our identity. They should want us to have unity with each other, and not claim that it is some type of racism because we are trying to rebuild what was taken from us. We are trying to rebuild or gain the thing that they have, the thing that was never taken from them, the thing that caused them to be so successful everywhere they go. That one thing, their roots, their identity, that caused them to see each other as a people wherever they go. You can have different cultures, but you cannot change the roots.